Hey guys, it's Core Ross and welcome to this Rainbow Six Siege video. So what we're doing today is because we've just entered 2020, I thought it's time we sit down and think about what map reworks we would like to see in the next year of Rainbow Six Siege. So in this video, I've got my top 5 picks for map reworks or map buffs in year 5. I've also got a curveball in there as my 6th choice as well. But I also want you guys to let me know your top choice and what you would do to the maps to make them really cool. Of course, in year 5, we can only get a maximum of 4 map buffs or reworks, depending on how the season is set up. So anyway, let's get started. My first choice is Bank. So this is a pretty good and competitive map already. What I would want to see here is a map buff. So keeping it very much the same map, but kind of tweaking it. So something like Cafe where it keeps most of its original features, but it's just improved. And one of the big improvements I'd like to see on this map is the attacker spawn points. For me, they're just not very good. I hate them. Like, why are you spawning on the road pretty much in the open? And also that rear car park spawn as well just seems like a bad idea. So what I'd love to see is this car park on the left hand side turned into a multi-story car park where you actually spawn in it fully protected, and then it would actually give you access to obviously the front of the bank, but also you'd be able to easily move over to this area which gives you access into the back of the lobby and also down into the basement entrance as well. I think that would be really nice to have an easy area to get through. A multi-story car park would also be a great place for Kali and Glass to set up in multiple different areas so they can easily snipe into the lobby. I think this would be a very nice area for them to both have access to. And then for the rear spawn where you've got the small car park, I'd love to see this completely changed. What I'd love to do is remove this building entirely so you can move easily between these two different spawn points. So if you spawn at the back, you can easily move around to the front if you want. And I would love to see the tunnel entrance that's here break up into 2 different tunnels going to 2 different locations within the bank. I think this would be really nice. Now, when it comes to the actual spawn point, I'd love for it to be actually up on this building here, with this building having easy access to the roof of the bank, but also maybe like a ramp behind it that goes down so you can move into that car park and move wherever you want into the back of the bank. And the northern spawn point could be easily covered by maybe just a decent bit of construction there, some decent walls and cover so that you can easily move around and even have the tunnel entrance completely under a cover of some sort. As for the inside, I only really want a few tweaks here and there. I'd love to be doing something a bit more interesting with the vault, and the CEO's room as well seems a little bit kind of, I don't know, I don't quite think these days that it works that well. So I'd love to see that kind of improved overall. But otherwise, I really like Bank, I love the layout, and I would hope that they keep most of it in this map buff. So the first one was a map buff, which is kind of a smaller change overall to the map. Now I want to go full conversion with a map rework, and this would be Skyscraper. Now this map I actually really enjoy. It's got a lot of flaws. There's too many easy runouts, there's too many issues with a lot of the objectives, and overall I would love to see the layout completely change, but I do like that it's split in half, kind of like Canal, which is another one of my favorites. So I would love to keep that split in half feeling. But what I hate about this map is it's called Skyscraper, but it's just a building on top of a skyscraper. But if you actually look at the top-down view of this, it would be so freaking cool as an oil rig. Imagine that, of course, you have the heli spawn, but we actually changed that to look like the helipad from the Shifting Tides teaser. And the other 2 spawn points could be boat insertions that would give you access to kind of a maintenance area, which would be a lower level that doesn't have anything on it, but would give you easy access to different parts of the map in order to either come in from the outside or maybe even a few choice interior areas that you can move up into. And if you just look at the map, it's perfect. It's got this big tower which you could easily turn into kind of an oil rig tower, and that would look really nice. And I think overall this map is already perfect for this idea. Now of course map buffs don't usually change the map name and stuff like that, but we'd still keep a lot of the similar kind of aesthetics. We'd have the double levels, and we'd have the outer kind of walkways and stuff like that. We'd probably make it less likely that there's going to be runouts, but that just to me totally works with this kind of oil rig concept. So I'd love to see this become a reality. I think it'd be awesome. Now we're back to a map buff, and this would be a very minor map buff for Border. Now Border is actually probably one of the most competitive Rainbow Six Siege maps out there, and because it's one of the first DLC maps, it's probably one of the biggest successes as well when it comes to Rainbow Six Siege maps. But I think it could do with a little bit of TLC, a few tweaks here and there, and I think it could become even better. For instance, the courtyard entrance, which you can rappel into, it's just completely and utterly pointless. So I'd love to see them do something else with that. CCTV as well, I feel like it's underutilized. It's such a nice room, but I don't feel like it really plays enough of a part, apart from obviously having some roamers potentially hiding in it. I think overall the map is really good, so it's a risky one to go in and rework it because you might mess it up, but I would love to see them tweak it. Very minor, it'd be like the rework to Cafe where they kind of improve it, but overall it's still very much the same map. Now let's move on to the next map, and this would be Shai. Now this to me would be a map rework, so a complete redesign, completely different aesthetics, and it would still probably be up in the mountains somewhere, but I'd probably redesign it entirely. I think the reason I do this is because I think this map needs to get made bigger to kind of work with the current kind of ideas of Rainbow Six Siege maps. So I think we'd have to see a significant increase in size in order for this to work, which would mean a total redesign of the layout, and you may as well at that point start doing different aesthetics. Overall, I love the location, I love the actual idea of the map, and I do hope that they can pull it off with a rework, but that's kind of it. I don't really have any good suggestions on how to improve this to the point of actually making it good. This would just be sitting down and going over different layouts until you finally find the one that works. Now the next map rework is not one I actually thought of. This is one that my Twitter followers suggested when I tweeted out what they would like to see for reworks in year 5, and it's Oregon. Now for some reason this didn't come to my kind of head straight away when I first thought about all these reworks, and yeah, it totally does need a rework. It is a nice map. It's quite different as well because it's kind of got this T-shape to it. It's got some really high areas, really low areas. It is actually a really good map and I really enjoy playing it, and I've got a lot of kind of strategies on this map that I really enjoy executing every time I play it. So I could see this being either a map rework where they completely convert it to something else but kind of keep the philosophy of it, or it could also just be a map buff where they tweak it a little bit, like add another tunnel access and stuff like that. Overall, it's a good map, but I think the reason that I think that it needs a total conversion as a map rework is because it's too small. Because of the T-shape, it means there's a lot getting funneled into the kind of center area, so I'd love to see a few more options for roamers and attackers to move around inside. And I think they could do that quite easily, but I do think they would need to bump up in size. If they're going to do that, I would also like to see a complete aesthetic change, go for something completely different. I do like the Oregon, obviously, the location and stuff like that. It's very iconic, but I don't know. I wouldn't mind another very Oregon US kind of style to it that maybe is quite different, but a bit brighter maybe. But there is a lot they could do with that. They would also have to keep the spirit and probably a lot of the layout of the basement, and have to have that staircase coming down and then that roof hatch over the actual objective, because that is such a focal point of battles that it's so enjoyable to watch those Oregon fights where they're trying to take the basement. So I'd love to see a lot of that remain, although I'd love to see another tunnel access point that would be able to just bring you a bit more options for both attacker and defenders. And if you are going to increase it in overall size, I would actually love to see an attacker spawn point on the roof, maybe in a recessed area on the roof, which would mean that it was completely safe from spawn campers, but it would just give you a bit more interesting place to spawn and move out over that kind of T-shaped building in order to attack it in different ways. I think it'd be really fun. Now on to my final choice, and this is my curveball choice, as it's Bartlett University. So this is a terrible map. It was never supposed to be a multiplayer map. It was supposed to just be for that one situation, but in the documentation for the game it did list it as a multiplayer map, so that meant they ended up having to release it as a multiplayer map later down the road, and of course it's terrible. It doesn't work as a multiplayer map very well at all. What I do like about it though is it's basically just a big rectangle, which makes me think if we extended its size a little bit, we could do quite a lot with the layout, and I would just completely gut it, take away all the current layout that we have and redo it from the ground up. I think we could actually make a pretty damn good map for Rainbow Six Siege. I think we do need a university map in this game, and I think a lot could be done with the university map for multiple levels, different kind of areas that would be inspired by all different, aspects of a university campus. Yeah, I think overall you could do a lot of really cool stuff with this, but overall keep it simple, keep it that big rectangle, and yeah, I think it could actually be a pretty good map, and it would still be Bartlett, but it would be like a different building within the campus or something like that. So there we go guys, that is my top choices for map reworks and buffs in year 5. Of course we won't see all of them, we might not even see any of them, who knows. But let me know what you think of these ideas, and also let me know your own ideas for what could be done with maps in Rainbow Six Siege. Anyway guys, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.